Hello, everyone. Welcome to Built to Scale. We have an absolutely packed docket today, Matty. Just to run from the top, some of the headlines we're going to cover. We have Google's I.O. drops from last week and how I am going absolutely all in with them. We have the OpenAI, also I.O. Conspiracy there, potentially to talk about. A big deal happened there. Claude 4. Sonnet and Opus, plus the way of code, which really was their way of speaking to people like me. Just-in-time software, what does that mean? We'll find out. AI for couches, Matt. What does that mean? I hope you're going to tell us. Tool of the week, as always, a couple of big products, Dan and my hack on deep research. The robot rundown includes Tesla and Dyson, a couple of big names. And to finish off, how to make every Australian an instant millionaire. How are you going? You look like you're back home. You look fresh. What's going on?
I look fresh. I don't feel super fresh. Mate, we've both got young kids, as we've discussed. I found a little hiccup in my technology journey and parenting. I've got one of those white noise machines that you can play. So the birds in the morning don't wake my son up. And we've noticed, my wife and I, that my son's been getting up like 3:30 a.m. He's really regressed on his sleep. He's 12 months old now. And I went in this morning and the whole room was red. And it looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. And it turns out that the sleep machine that I'd programmed to get a little bit louder in the morning has now turned the red light on as well. And maybe that's what's waking him up, the poor guy. So massive tech failure on my behalf. And I must apologize to my little son that I've probably been scaring. But mate, how's your life?
That's good. I think it's one of the things there is trialing things at work is a bit of a free swing. Trialing things at home has some more consequences. So you've turned your son's room into an alarm, basically, in a horror movie. So poor little fella. Hope he recovers. But it does help when you get
long-term damage. I hope there's not too much long-term damage for the poor guy.
No, he'll be all right, mate. I'm good. I come to you optimistic, but with far lighter pockets because I've been sucked in to all these annual tech conferences and all the product launches. And the way they get you now is they also seem to host them exactly when we're running this show. So we can't talk about them for a week because they're literally live as we're trying to run this show. And Google I.O. is huge and we're going to get right into it. But after they do their conference, they release everything straight away. So I feel like conferences years ago, like you'd have an iPhone conference and then it wouldn't be available for 3 months. But now, like the next day, you can just buy. So overnight, I've got a new subscription now to Google Ultra for the cheap price of introductory value of just $250 a month. And after 3 months, it's going to go up to $450, where basically you hook into the Google ecosystem. And like we spoke about last week, they plug Gemini and all their models and all their AI into everything in their ecosystem, every bit of hardware. So if you think about, if you've got a Google Watch, an Android, Gmail, your actual Gemini app itself, you get access. If you get the Google glasses, you get access to everything. So what I've decided to do, and I'm really hoping it's a tax write-off because it's for this pod. So we just need some rev. So sponsors out there, please get involved so I can write all this off. I'm going to run a dual-carriageway system of technology and ecosystems. Now, so that means I'm going to continue on with my Microsoft Life, ChatGPT, OpenAI, hooked into OneDrive, Copilot, and just run that whole world and see how it goes. And then I'm going to have what I'm going to call my Apple Google Life. And this might end up breaking up into a 3-way ecosystem, right? Once Apple get their together. But until then, it's going to call Apple Google combo, where I've got the Mac, and then I've got my Google Drive, my Gmail. I'll have the Apple Watch or a Google Watch. I'll just figure out which one I want. AI hooked into all of them and just different devices. And then I'm going to try and either level up, or do you think I'm going to have a tech overload and a mental breakdown?
I think that you're going to develop a split personality. You're gonna have Scotty and then someone else we're gonna call. You're gonna have your Apple Watch on one hand, your Google on the other, and you're just gonna jump between these personalities. So I'm leaning, if there was a poly market for this, I'm leaning on the side of Scott has a mental breakdown. And I'm sure your staff are super excited for this as well. But mate, I'm very excited for this experiment. In all seriousness, it is interesting to look at the different ecosystems. We've talked about that before, the ecosystem play of that's been Apple's moat up until now. And now that they have fallen behind on AI, they're losing that moat. Google's going hard at it, and you'll be at the forefront of figuring out who's going to win this race. So I love the dual carriageway system. Let's just hope you can keep it all together up the top.
Well, I think what I'm most excited about is being able to log into a bloody Teams and a Google Meet. Because at the moment, my computer will literally, whichever one I'm sort of leaning towards, the other one will just stop working. It's like a genuine conspiracy. Like they won't allow you to have both open in a browser or go, if you get out of a Teams and you go into a Google Meet, it'll just blow up your computer. I think they just give you a virus online, for sort of trying to play both sides. So the key to it, I think, is going to be having dedicated devices with ecosystems. And if I can create some sort of digital twin or avatar, it'd be interesting to be able to maybe split myself across different meetings. And, you never know which one you're going to be speaking to. So anyway, watch this space. I'm going all in. Like I said, hopefully, it's a write-off as well. Cause it's not for personal use. It's absolutely for business use. And, we'll see how it all plays out.
That's exciting. We've got to be interested in the Google $250 a month subscription as well. So yeah, let's hope it's a write-off. Let's get into our opening story. So OpenAI, we talk about them all the time. It is massive news at the moment, though. They have gone and purchased or acquired Jony Ive's company. So I think his company was called, and I'll bring it up just here, LoveFrom.
IO.
Well, so IO is what they've created out of it. So he had an independent design firm called LoveFrom. For context to everyone listening, if you don't know Jony Ive, lead designer at Apple for 27 years, worked directly with Steve Jobs and worked on products like the iPhone. So this is a designer that has changed the course of history, and hence why his firm has been valued at so much. This firm technically hasn't come out with anything yet. It's just full of ideas and smart people. OpenAI has gone and acquired it in an all-stock deal for $6.5 billion. So imagine being Jony Ive. His brand is literally worth over $6 billion, which is pretty cool. That's a cool number, and a good one to bring out at the dinner table, I'm sure. But why is this exciting? We have talked about in the past all of the different tech gadgets and hardware that's going to be integrated with AI that really hasn't cut the mustard yet. You had your limitless pendant that picked up the argument with your dog. You lost it in a few days. We've ranted about the fact that Apple doesn't have a device here. And so I think what's really exciting about this acquisition and of OpenAI really committing to hardware is this could be the Apple competitor. So to your point before about running your dual carriageway, maybe this becomes a third one on its own, just a whole OpenAI ecosystem with new devices, a new way of interacting with the world of AI. So it's massive news. I'm pretty excited for it. I think what's also was quite prescient of you was the fact you called it OpenAI is basically the Apple of AI, and then a couple of weeks later they go and merge with Jony Ive's firm, who was from Apple, and maybe that is their plan to become the new Apple. So what are your thoughts on this deal?
Oh, I love it. I think we've been screaming out for it, and what seems to happen a bit around here is you and I sort of scream out for something, and then if we just shut up for a week, it seems to pop its way onto the market. I think everyone's at their best here. So Sam's at his best. He placed someone in terms of monetizing their sort of future app store and the app layer a few weeks ago, the lady that we spoke about. And now he's probably talking about product. Where am I getting product guy? And he's gone to the best available product designer in the world, Jony Ive. And you're right, he's purchased a personal brand for 2% of the share price of OpenAI. Now, if you think about that as a fair and reasonable value, does Jony Ive and his team, who are apparently like legends in the product and design space, does getting them on board raised the value of OpenAI by more than 2%. And my gut feeling is yes. Like if they go to their next round, because these guys chew up capital like no one, they're going to have to do another round pretty soon. And then if they've got access to this brand new product, and the marketing campaign in the video was unbelievable, like gorgeous. There are conspiracies that it was actually created with AI, and that Jony is actually wearing the glasses in the film. Now, if that happened, that's blowing my mind. But I watched it, all 9 minutes of it at the start of my workday, and it was one of the first marketing videos I've enjoyed. Now, they were just busy talking each other up, but it just reminded me, once again, closer to the Apple version of marketing. When Steve Jobs was there and they were all at their best, this is one of the first things I've seen in AI where the marketing has been gorgeous and excellent and made you, I just want to buy it. I don't even know what it is, but I just want to buy it. And maybe we're talking about me having buying problems, actually, now that I think of it out loud, with all the things I seem to be buying at the moment. But yeah, I just thought, brilliant. It might produce nothing, and there are definitely some doubters publicly online at the moment, but the need is there, the people are there, the combination will work, and it's just a matter of now whether they can produce. But all the right skills are in the room. The valuation seems fair, and I love the direction. And like we've spoken about previously, when you first released the iPhone, you couldn't sell billions of them straight away because the distribution network wasn't there. But now, with where we're at with technology, if they come up with a killer product, it could be around the globe very quickly. So that 6 billion could look really cheap.
Yeah. And the brand it's really interesting to think about brand, because that's what you're trusting. And by them partnering up, it's essentially saying we are going to build products to the same level as the iPhone. And we've talked about AI almost being solved now. It's so competitive. So it is about distribution, and it is about brand. It's about OpenAI saying you can trust us to build the best software and the best apps for AI. And now you can trust us to build the best hardware for it as well. So I think it's also another example of a lot of these startups out there just going to be crushed by the big players. The Limitless Pendant would be looking at this going, where we better sell a few and get out. Sorry if I'm roading.
Maybe they should just get Find My. They should just be able to find it, locate it. That would be
That'd be the first step. But yeah, so it's super exciting. I think other big AI news, so one of OpenAI's big competitors is Anthropic. We have talked about Anthropic before. They run the Claude product. So just like ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI, Anthropic has Claude, and they've released their new model. So Claude has typically been very good at coding. They don't have as much breadth in their models, and it's not like 50 different types of models like OpenAI's got, and they've got a naming problem there. But what they do really well is the coding side of things. So all of these tools that are allowing us to go out and vibe code, or software developers to get help with their coding to build things faster. What this model does is it plugs in to those existing tools, and it just one-ups you or two-ups you. It makes things, there's less errors. You get smarter feedback. Things happen faster. There's heaps of different benchmarks that they use for how good the models are, and Claude 4 has performed really well. So my team at BuildPass is already using this in their coding. And I think the other thing that's really cool is in the product. So we use Claude behind the scenes. So all of our customers are actually getting access to this behind the scenes. As soon as we get a new model like this, we can just plug it in, and our software that we've built, we don't have to change anything, just gets better overnight. And so that's one of the amazing things about this AI race we're seeing right now is it's not just the consumer that is benefiting from this by using Claude or using ChatGPT. There is so much software out there that you'll be using that's using these models under the hood, and literally overnight, these things just get better. So it's really exciting to see Anthropic continue to push the frontier and compete against OpenAI.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm excited about is now that with BuildPass, like, I've got now no excuse not to find defects with your defects app because it's running Claude 4 in the background.
Exactly.
So it should be absolutely spotting all the defects and communicating them really well. So I think that's so cool that you built a business that hooks into leverages these this tech that upgrades itself every few months in a ridiculous competitive cycle and feedback loop with the most capital input on the globe feeding it. And then you're suddenly leveraging it. And then you go straight to market with it, within weeks, with your own product. So congratulations on that. And yeah, very, very, very cool. Obviously, I think with Claude, I have less engagement with it. It seems very popular with software engineers, and their consumer experience is probably good, but like don't carry the brand of OpenAI. But when they thought, look, you banned me from saying the word geeks, but let's just say it. When they've built a brand around geeks using their stuff and they want to get in touch with the everyday man or woman, what they've done is perfect. So they did a release telling you that they've, created this brand new model and it's fantastic. 3 hours later, they dropped a release for the average human like me, which is Rick Rubin, who's basically one of the world's greatest music producers. Produced amazing records for Jay-Z, Metallica, and everyone in between. And he's known as the ultimate sort of vibe guy because there's that meme of him saying, I know nothing about music. I know nothing about any instruments. And then they say, well, why do people pay you millions? And he goes, because I know how to express my opinion and I have great taste. And it's just a famous meme. Anyway, they've released like this book called The Way of Code, which they've done in collaboration with Rick Rubin based on, I think, some sort of Japanese philosophy on just vibing. And I've read like 3 or 4 pages. It was just such a gorgeous read. So I'm going to actually digest it this weekend and I'll report back next week. But I like their 2A, once again, their dual carriageway of let's impress the coders and then let's impress the everyday Joe as well. And so come over to Anthropic and vibe code yourself something silly while talking to serious people like yourself. So well done to them.
They're covering both markets. I might actually clone Rick Rubin's voice and put it into an AI tool like 11 Labs and get him to actually read the book to me in his vibey way.
That is very exciting. And any other AI news for the week?
On the topic of the big players, obviously we've talked about OpenAI, we've talked about Anthropic. We have mentioned how Google is just on fire. They've got your credit card now. And another tool that they released that I want to mention off the back of I/O that is really, really cool is rather than just building the software for you, often what we'll want to do is build the user interface or the design of it. So when we go and vibe code these apps, you can tell it what you want it to look like. It's building the whole app, but sometimes they don't look that great. What Google has dropped is a tool called Stitch, and this is a way to build the UI in a better way. So I think that might actually do the code under the hood as well. But there are so many other apps that were specializing in doing this, and Google just comes out, releases this, and this will probably become the standard. So to what we were talking about before, it's an exciting time to be building with AI, but it's also a really risky time because of this fierce competition. It's not just the models that are getting better now. As the big players like Google and Microsoft and OpenAI and even Meta, as they try and get people into their ecosystem, they're going to be releasing apps like this that is just going to kill a bunch of startups. So it's not all rainbows and butterflies when it comes to building tech in this space, and you got to be really strategic about what you work on.
Yeah, I mean, that leads really nicely into just-in-time software. And a principle that probably no one's heard before, and I hadn't heard about until a few days ago. And there's an all-day, like virtually the Fox News of tech on X. If people can sort of get their head around that, it's a podcast called TBPN, which is sort of online for 3 to 4 hours a day, every day, hosting like all the tech CEOs around the world. And it's basically like this just almost Bloomberg-like feed for technology, and they run it on X. They had a guest on who was speaking about, just-in-time software that basically you'll, instead of having legacy software, whatever you need, you can just ask some of these supreme models, especially like ChatGPT as it keeps getting better, to just create you that software on the spot, and then you just start doing it. So act like this, vibe code me this, and deploy straight away because I need to use it. And they're basically saying that this is the direction we're getting in. And for instance, with my Google subscription that is merely only a day old, so it's probably only cost me $10. You and I were talking last night about how we needed a dashboard to track our podcast growth. So across all the platforms, across YouTube, Meta, LinkedIn, and I just one-shotted it, and it looks like it's, ready to present for us to put the data in. I think your first question was like, is it automated? Is it already linked to our back end? No, because I don't have access to it. I think you've got all those passwords, but it was just an interesting time because Google jumped straight into Firebase and just knocked it up in 5 minutes, and it was ready to use. It had all the drop downs, drop your YouTube in here, drop your Meta in here. So it's not automated yet, but yeah, I mean, this is starting to get, like you said, exciting and scary. Well, exciting for me. I'm not in software, so scary for everyone in software. But are there any other use cases or things you're seeing in this sort of just-in-time software, or the create something straight away, or combining softwares space?
It's such a fascinating space because you're right. What happens in any business is you have a problem, and then you go, okay, there must be some software to help us here. And traditionally in the past, it's been, how do I go online, I find the product that's going to do that, I add another subscription in, now I've got 100 subscriptions I'm paying for and different products that have been built to do certain things. And now what we're seeing is the ability was, when you have a problem, one, you can go to an LLM and ask it a question, but now you can actually just go and build some software to do that in a repeatable way for you. And so it's a really fascinating space. I think there is going to be a mix of, you'll have your standard platforms and thinking things like, CRMs and ERPs and finance systems, that they're all going to still be around, these core platforms, but the little point solutions around it that are built just to do one thing, that will be just in time. People will go and just build the app that they need and plug it into their existing platforms to operate in just the way they need it to, because everyone's business is slightly different. So I think that part is really exciting. One of the announcements that I saw playing in this space is a piece of software called Clark. They've just raised $60 million, or 23 recently, for a total of 60. And what they are saying is, we are the tool that's like Lovable or Bolt, where you can just build software on the fly, but we're doing it for the enterprise. So they're actually going and trying to attack the market of these big players that run like Salesforce for CRMs, or SAP in the ERP space. They're basically saying that we can do just-in-time software that is enterprise ready, that's actually going to fit into your business. So I think their whole premise is, rather than going and paying for a CRM that you need to set up and configure, we can just take a few prompts and know about your business, and we can build an enterprise grade piece of software for you. So, which kind of goes against what I was saying before, that the platforms are safe. And I don't think anyone really knows where this is going and how good this will be. But there's obviously a lot of investors that are backing the ability to have just-in-time software at that enterprise grade as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, and whether it actually can compete with the existing big players. It looks like even Microsoft, with their Build product, is playing this space too. Microsoft wants to keep you in their ecosystem, and they want to allow you to build these apps on the fly. So definitely a watch this space. It is a bit of a nervous time to be in the software space, and I think it's all about just staying ahead of the curve and being able to deliver extreme amounts of value for customers. Because if you're a software company and you're not, and you got your old cruddy duddy app that is not evolving, you are going to be kaput within the next couple of years. So, yep, exciting.
Well, it's funny. It leads to this question, like, are we in a bubble? So there's all this hype, crazy valuations, and then is it all going to turn on itself, where it creates products that end up wiping each other out, which is a really interesting thought. And that's where this sort of build everything yourself comes from, of like, well, if you can build everything yourself, why does anything have value? Why does any enterprise software have value? And then there's other signs of a bubble, sometimes. And one of them, I thought, or say incorrect valuation or something like that, that leads to a bubble type thinking, was, I remember when was it Guzman and Gomez? Is that the Mexican, restaurant chain, in Australia? And they went and they IPO'd at like some sort of 1,000 times EBITDA, or they weren't even making money, and they IPO'd at some crazy amount, which never really happens in Australia. And I remember someone saying, "Oh, there must be AI in the avocado," and because this valuation makes no sense, right? And I thought that was quite funny. And now you've brought something to the table today saying there's AI in the couches. Now, I don't know what you're talking about, so can you please describe to me? Because I'm starting to get those bubble vibes. It's AI in the couches, but can you describe to me what that means?
I can. So I saw something on my X feed literally a couple of hours before we started chatting. So I threw it in, and this is a company called Atlog, and they are building AI for couches. So they are trying to disrupt the furniture industry. And apparently, according to their quite funny promo video that they've done, which I'm sure we'll throw up, it's a very backwards industry. There's a lot of phone calls that happen. There's a lot of inefficient processes that need to happen. And they're basically saying, we're just going to focus on that. We are going to automate the furniture purchasing, selling, whole transaction. We're going to automate all the finances around it with our AI product. And other than the really funny video that they launched that everyone should watch, the reason I wanted to talk about this was just that every industry, I believe, will be touched by AI. And that's why there's so many different companies now getting released that are focusing on doing it. AI is going to have to become part of the organizational structure of every business because it doesn't make sense not to. And if you are not incorporating AI into the way you run your business, you will be overtaken by people that are. So I think that was just another example of that. And to round out on, your comments on the bubble, I look at bubbles in two ways. You either have a technology bubble or you have a monetary and investment bubble. With AI, I don't think we're in a technology bubble. I think the technology is here to stay. Are we in a investment valuations monetary bubble? 100%. There's going to be so much money that gets torched. People are going to lose a lot of money as part of this. So in that sense, yes, you could describe it as a bubble and the valuations are inflated. But I don't think the technology is going to stall. It is here to stay. This is a platform shift, which is unlike, say, the crypto bubble. Crypto was promised to rebuild the internet, right? We were going to get this Web3 and NFTs and all this. And there is some applications for crypto, but we didn't get all of that. Really what we got was a store of value for Bitcoin and a few other cryptocurrencies. And it's still around, but that very much was also a technology bubble. People were backing the tech in the wrong way, whereas AI is truly here to stay. So it's not a bubble from that sense. And I do think as an example of this is the AI for couches. That is going to happen across every industry. Think AI 4, it's going to happen. And it's a really exciting time.
I agree with you. We're not in a technology bubble. We're in a technology revolution. Yep. And I think the key pairing here is the existing domain expertise and data within any industry paired with leveraging the most up-to-date technology or novel technology. What's the next on top? And that's definitely the way we're looking at our industry. So if you can pair up your domain expertise and your own data pool and pair up with the cutting edge technology specialist, you're then redefining your industry. Well, you're at least at the tip of the spear, because in most cases, whatever you're going to attempt to do couldn't have been done merely 2 years ago. So you might have 10 years experience, 20 years experience, 30 or 5, or you could be starting at the start line with everyone else. And you could just put a team together from an existing other business and sort of move out and go, hey, let's do the AI version of what we currently do for our current boss. Let's go do the AI version and start our own space because we're all experts. And I think it's that pairing of domain expertise and technology that's going to revolutionize every industry. And the first movers should be rewarded. Especially if you've got some complexity in your industry and some fragmentation, you should be able to improve on and be more efficient and go to market and say, hey, we're cheaper and better. So you've just got to be slightly visionary in your thinking. But once you get a few customers hooked and the message out that you've revolutionized or partly revolutionized your industry, the market's going to sell itself and you'll be able to scale. So it goes back to that, I think, Paul Graham thing about don't go get 1 million customers, go delight 100 or go delight 10, do something unscalable and then watch it scale itself. And I think that's the current opportunity for people that aren't in technology to then go, hey, I'm not currently in technology, but if I grab some tech experts, I can then go leverage my expertise and change my industry.
Absolutely. And maybe you don't actually even need the tech experts anymore because it's becoming democratized. Anyone who has expertise in a certain industry can go and vibe code their way to $1 billion exit.
That sounds exciting. Gonna struggle to concentrate on that concreting deal I have to do today now. Okay, mate, let's get into, I think speaking of democratized, we've democratized the name. I've pulled my weight and it is Tool of the Week. That's the segment name. We both operate under it. So I'm just on that live, by the way, to everyone that's listening. Matt's axe is being killed. It's Tool of the Week. We're both going for it. Just because nothing good rhymes with Scott. So as we get into Tool of the Week, mate, I'll kick us off. And it comes from my Dual-Carriageway. It's actually now Freeway because basically I have a freeway of models currently doing deep research for me while I sleep. So I believe I've got 4 to 5 models or agents, depending on what you want to call them, that I currently use, which is ChatGPT Deep Research, Gemini Deep Research, Manus AI, which we've spoken about, and also Grok Deep Research. You can basically sign up to all of them. I don't think you need to go to the AI $200 a model or the Google. You can sort of spend around that $30 a month for all of them, and have access to really good models and deep research models there. And what I've found I've been able to do is I can put in a prompt, or I can get either one of them to generate a prompt, sort of a blue sky field within my industry or something new I want to learn overnight. And what I'll do is I'll prompt them with all of the same deep research prompt and basically say, I want to know about what the market segmentation, what the competitor analysis is, what the cutting edge technology and what the 3 to 5 year horizon looks like in this field. You go to sleep. You wake up, and because they've all now got artifacts, including like PDFs, they would have done the research, done the citations, create anywhere between a 5 and 100 page report for you by the time you've woken up. And then from there, you could grab all that research and then plug that into Notebook LM that we've spoken about and give yourself a 20-minute podcast to listen to in the morning that summarizes it all. And then you could ask Notebook LM to now give you an action list to hook into your task management tool to then go about your day, and then now leverage that information, distill it, and then act on it by the time you've woken up. And all you've done is gone to sleep, had a shower, put your work clothes on, listen to a podcast on the way to work. And if you don't get distracted by problems that already start within the first 2 hours of your workday, you can then action. And I just think, my God, how exciting. So I've been doing that just the last few days. And if I can dodge construction issues for 3 hours a day, it actually does. It's impacted everything. And this is research that would have used to have taken months.
Yeah. It's a crazy unlock. And just think about, if everyone's doing this, what that's going to mean for productivity. So it's an incredible unlock. My, not my hack, my now tool of the week, as you've, gone and just gone full autocrat mode. But anyway, so tool of the week, mine is Den. So this is actually started by a founder from Melbourne who used to run a company called Lyrebird Health that is doing really well, but has left to join YC with a new product called Den. And so Gary Tan from YC basically posted about this and said, it's like Slack, but if Slack was started today with the knowledge of AI and agents. So this Den product, essentially, you've got chat in it, you've got documents, so the equivalent of Slack plus Notion, the tool that you love. But then they've added a layer of AI agents in this. You can build an agent to do things for you. So I've just started using it. I don't have heaps to report back yet because I've just started. But one of the examples, just so people can get an understanding for what this type of product can do, is we have a run sheet where we discuss the things that we want to talk about each week in Notion currently. Then we discuss things on Slack, and then we go and we build that out ourselves. So what I decided to do in this product called Den, created a channel where we would be able to chat if you were in there, but I don't want to overload you with tools. Then it's now got a document within it that has got the run sheet and it's got some ideas for what we're going to talk about. Now I've created an agent, literally with a prompt. And what I've told the agent to do is it should look at the run sheet and look at some of the ideas. It should then go off and connect into ChatGPT Deep Research and the web scraping tool. I've given it access to that document, and it has been instructed to go and find some more topics that we should be talking about, AI, tech, and robotics news. It should give us a brief on all of them. It should prioritize them based on what we typically like to talk about. What I haven't done yet, but I could, is I could actually go and give it access to YouTube and all of our previous episodes to make sure we don't double up. And then it's going to work in the background as an agent to prepare our run sheet for us. So we could just come to the pod and review it and discuss it in the same product, and it's done all that work for us. So it's kind of like what you've just talked about with deep research, but it's an agent that's actually built into this product, and it's an all-in-one. So I think it's a really good application of AI and agents, and this whole concept of saying, what if this product that I'm currently using was rebuilt today, knowing about AI and agents? Think about how much opportunity there is. Think about rebuilding a sales CRM or an accounting tool. Imagine if Xero, popular accounting tool, was started from scratch today with AI at the forefront and agents. What would that look like? Would you really be going in and manually reconciling transactions? No. AI would be doing that for you. Would you be having to go and build custom reports for what your balance sheet looks like? You would just ask for that. So this is the kind of opportunity that exists. And well done to the team at Den on the launch where we're currently using it. And it's looking good so far.
Mate, you've sold me, because you actually made me sign up to Slack and Notion for the pod. Then Notion stole my money and made me like buy your subscription somehow. Like, it charged me for 7 subscriptions overnight because it was everyone that had access to our Notion board. So I'm not a fan. So if we can replace those 2 tools for the pod with Den, you've actually now
just sold it too.
I'm in.
You're in, and you get agents.
So,
on top of it. You get agents as well.
Exactly. So, and it does remind me, when you say about building something with AI, where would you start now? It's a great thought, because some of these legacy types aren't really leaning in because they're still trying to protect their moat. And I think anyone that's trying to protect their moat is going to die, because there is no moat. Because you don't look at NVIDIA trying to protect their moat. They 40 times themselves in 18 months. And everyone go, oh, but you're cannibalizing your previous thing. And they go, no, there's always going to be a market for someone that can't afford the new thing. There's always compute that needs to happen at every layer for every price. There's, economies with less finances and companies with less things. So that they might be killing the resale value of their product, but they don't care about the resale. They just care about the sale. Like Tesla cares about what new cars are worth, not what the secondhand market's worth. So I think that's a really interesting point. It also reminds me of like when DeepSeek came out, and it seems like they built their model off ChatGPT's model. So they didn't start from scratch. They waited for ChatGPT to spend billions of dollars with this huge parameter model, and then they leveraged that and some cheaper chips to basically go, what's the 80-20 theory here? Like, what can we build for like a fraction of the cost that comes out that basically replicates it, even if it's only 10 to 20% off. And like you're saying with Xero and things like that, what are these agents and coders going to be able to do where they can go in and just scan what these legacy softwares are doing, and then just give you like the 80% version for 10% of the price, which is a really interesting thought. And also the other one I love there is this combination of tools, because we've all got tool overload. And if you go, how about what's a normal workflow for someone like Matt Perrott? And it might include all these tools, and go, how do we combine all those tools and give him one? That's another really interesting concept.
100%. No, the tool of the week, I think, has delivered this week. Let's kick off into the robot rundown. And as you like to say, Scotty, where the rubber meets the road. I have one for the robot rundown. You're usually the robot guy, but I'm going to slide right in here. Dyson, the company, famous for their vacuum cleaners. I want to go on a little love story about Dyson. I think they are such an incredible company, because as a kid that was, they had to use the vacuum cleaner and vacuum the house and hate it, and you got this clunky thing you're carrying around, you got to change the plug. When I bought my first Dyson, probably 5 years ago now, I fell in love with vacuum cleaning. It was just a beautiful thing to use. You could get it around the house. Beautiful piece of engineering. Just recently, James Dyson, the founder of the company, has done a keynote on their new vacuum cleaner. And while we're usually talking about AI and humanoid robots on this section, I think this was a good reminder that excellent engineering and craft and taste in products is timeless. And you just have to watch this. I think it's about 7 minutes launch on their new vacuum cleaner that they are releasing. It is an absolute masterclass on delivering engineering and design and presenting it very Steve Jobs-like. And you look at this new thing, you think, how could someone get so excited by a vacuum cleaner? But they've solved all of the issues with it, the hair getting stuck. It's now got these cones. It just falls off on the side. It can get around the corners it needs to. You know, one of my problems with vacuum cleaning was you couldn't get the side because it's got this plastic thing. So now the little cones have got the fluffy bits on the side that gets up against the butt of the wall. It solved all these problems, and it's so maybe not quite a robot, but a beautiful piece of engineering, and just a masterclass in advertising that as well. So definitely we'll put a link to that in the show notes, but that's my little love story with Dyson.
Yeah, I watched it as well. And I thought the other thing that you can relate back to any company is just knowing your customer. Like, they didn't come out and say, here's a rocket ship. They said, here's all the things that annoy you at home with your vacuum cleaner. You know, here's where the hair goes, and here's how you can't. And it's just this hyper focus on customer pain points into elite engineering, into product design, and then into like presentation and marketing.
Totally.
So like, yeah, what I mean, just an awesome feedback loop. I agree with you. I'm probably not the vacuum enthusiast that you are, you know, which my wife won't like me saying. But I definitely think I can see the mastery in that product, and sort of similar. I'm keeping an eye on all these homewares, products, because for us at Elysium, like you with the Claude model, we want to just plug them into our ecosystem of offerings. So as the Roomba started that sort of robot vacuum cleaner type thing, every time there's a new piece of technology, if you're offering clients a full suite ecosystem at their home where they maintain their home autonomously, or at least with the best tools, things like that, we're keeping an eye on, because once again, you just want to go out with the old, in with the new. This is now how we clean your house, and whether that's robotic or non-robotic. So that's really exciting as well. My robot rundown today, a little bit more excitement, is Tesla. I've been really excited by Tesla over the last couple of months, and it just seems like while Elon was busy in the White House for about 6 months, that Tesla sort of went a bit quiet, and everyone was talking about Waymo, and everyone's been talking about Figure AI and the robots, but just in the background, the sleeping giant has been doing some pretty exciting stuff. And we've talked about how robots are going to learn. And basically what they're now saying is that the Optimus robot will learn just from being around you. It's just going to watch what you do, straight computer vision into the LLM, and then it's just going to be able to do it. So there's a really exciting video of Optimus just walking around, cutting fruit and vegetables, putting things in bins. So no necessary like NVIDIA Omniverse pre-training on how do you move your arm. It's just watching you. And it goes, oh, look at you. You just wash the dishes. I'm going to wash the dishes. Do you want me to wash the dishes? And you go, yeah, I do. And if anyone's had a conversation with the Grok models, the conversational piece is so good now that you suddenly think that you've got a Grok model that's just going to get better and better and better and eventually be AGI into a piece of hardware with dexterity that's just learning and watching your environment, just going, how can I help? How can I help? Like a servant or assistant. Amazing. And they were a bit quiet. Everyone else was making a lot of noise. And they did that. And then the other one was, the autonomous cars piece, where it just sort of said, oh, imagine when you get to the airport, you've always got the choice. Do I get the taxi, or do I drive and park and pay the extraordinary airport parking fee, especially at Melbourne, where you go, I'm going away for a week. That's going to cost $300, but the cab each way costs $100 and all that kind of stuff. How about you just drive your car to the airport and it drives itself home?
Yep. and it picks someone up on the way home, or it takes someone for you, and you actually earn some money. So you come out net positive.
Yeah, it gives you some income.
Yeah.
Mate, this is outrageous. Like, this is outrageous. And like, Uber must be sitting there going,
yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And Melbourne Airport parking, you're just going to have these like ghost town car parks.
I know. Well, what Melbourne Airport will do is they'll start slapping a huge fee on Teslas. That would be their play. But you know, outside of that,
they won't let you drop off. They'll charge you $100 to just drive in and out through that queue.
Yeah. but it doesn't take away from the fact that is an exciting future. And like, to your point on Optimus learning, like that's what Tesla's been doing with the cars. That's part of the reason they've got all these cameras on them. It's not just for security. It's because they have been having this full self-driving mode that they've been developing. And the reason it's gotten so good is it's been watching all the cars on the road and what they do. Every car on the road is not just a car. It's a node in this big neural network that's happening. Like, the training that happens in AI on computer chips on the internet, in data centers, that same concept is happening distributed around the globe with cars and cameras. That's been fed into their network. And that's why I think that, you know, when people have a laugh around Tesla not doing so well and BYD catching up and building better cars or whatever, yes, that might be the case. And I'm not saying BYD is not a good company. And yes, it's selling a lot of cars. But Tesla still has a few of these moats. And I think that is one of them. I think that they're going to be the best at full self-driving. And Elon does always seem to be a step ahead. So, yeah, fascinating stuff from Elon, Tesla, and the Optimus robots.
Yeah, and one last thing to watch, so I think, with the humanoid robot and what we're concentrating on with the in-home or autonomous experience is on-site energy and on-site data storage, so on the edge. So whatever data capture is going to be happening in your private home, I think the bit where it's going to get weird is when it gets sent off into the cloud and your privacy is then breached. And if something goes wrong and all the conversations you've ever had inside your house or the video that it's picking up of you, your wife, or your children inside the home. So I just think that combination, and you're going to need a lot of energy to power all these robots and power all this intelligence in the home. So something we're looking deeply into at the moment is, I think Tesla is going to be the key to the home energy generation. So naturally solar on the roof, but I don't think your roof is the only element of the house that should be able to capture sun. That's an interesting watch, I think. I think all parts of the home.
Did you see that post? Sorry to jump in. There was a power outage and someone's Tesla Cybertruck can actually power the whole home as a generator, which I thought was fascinating.
Some people are powering their like welding kits on site in America from their Cybertruck, but every aspect. So concrete paving, there's now concrete technologies that are looking into concrete that produces energy. So things like roads can now be energy producers. So if you think about that in the home, your roof, yes, might be able to capture energy, but your paving, your pool cover, your whole home surface could be able to capture energy, and Tesla is going to be the leader in being able to store that energy in the home. And I imagine they're thinking, well, we capture the energy, we store the energy, we then have the energy plugged into our robots that are servicing the home. So to me, they're the biggest watch on that. And then the on-site data, that to me feels like NVIDIA, in terms of all that data that's been captured by all these recording devices and intelligence in my home. I do not want sent to the cloud. I want kept on premise. So I just start thinking about homes. At the moment, I'm filling basements full of cellars and golf simulators and cars. The sort of data and energy room, which is going to be the brain of your home. And then we build out the neural network through the walls of your home. To me, that's, if you imagine your home as a robot almost, that's pretty exciting. So, big watch on Tesla.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Scotty, at the start, you read out the headlines. The final one was a bit of clickbait, I would say. So you're going to have to deliver on this. But how are we going to make every Australian a millionaire? What's your big grand idea?
I would never divulge into clickbait, Matthew. That's truly offensive, but I'm not going to be offended. I've got a collar on this week. So no, the way we are going to do this, and the initial thought was about the US and was not mine. But it was from, Chamath Palihapitiya on the All In podcast talking about monetizing the US balance sheet. And for those of you that just sounds like dribble, it's talking about, well, what are the assets of any nation? And often it is, the land you've got and the land rights that you have. So the nationally owned land across the country, but then also the surrounding seas before it hits international waters. And in the US, he spoke about the US having $100 trillion of natural resources and assets that they could commercialize and benefit from. Now, that when you talk about how do you commercialize land, it can talk about the natural minerals, things like copper, iron ore, all those kind of things that Australia already does a little bit of exploitation on, well, or a lot, but we've still got far more lithium. Just think of all the natural resources that are required at the base level to create the technology of the future. We have it all here. Then your energy resources like oil, gas, and then solar, hydro, we've got it all. And the US has got us all as well, but we nearly have the same size land mass as the US, and we have 1/15 of the population. So it got me to do the numbers. So I did a little exercise with Grok, and I said, Grok, based on all the information I've given you, what are the total reserves we think of the minerals, the energy resources, including renewables and oil and gas, in and around Australia, so within our land and seas? Grok came back to me with a few numbers that I thought were interesting. Minerals, iron ore, coal, uranium, lithium, approximately $12 trillion worth of resources here. Oil and gas, a couple of trillion there. Renewables, at least $5 trillion. Just think of all the solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, wave, just all of that we could monetize, and then other types of land leasing on land in Australia that is currently completely not of use. We do not use it. We have the sunniest country in the world. We could capture more sun than basically any other part of the planet because we don't use the land for farming in the center of Australia. You combine all those numbers and we're over 20 trillion Australian, which leads me, Matthew, to the headline of that would be $1 million per person of wealth. Now, how do you do that? What you do is you say to the world, come talk to us about our resources. We are an open market. And then if you want to use our resources and have licenses to access our resources, you need to give it to the Australian people for free. That's part of the deal. There's only 20 million of us. There's 8 billion of you. Come to us, make some money, but you got to give it to us for free. With that, we could then do the same thing. Once we have that abundant energy, we could then do the same thing with compute. We could build out data centers and make partnerships like what's going on in Dubai at the moment with OpenAI and Oracle and NVIDIA and whoever else, and Microsoft, and say, come here and build your data centers because we have free and abundant energy. At the moment, the data centers are just following where the free energy is, right? Come here, we have the free energy and we have the land for you to build your data centers. You get compute, but you have to give compute to Australians for free. So now we have free energy and free compute, and they are the two factors that you need for everything else. All the things that people want, the free NDIS, the free childcare, the free healthcare, complete abundance, innovation, technology, new business, an opportunity for everyone to thrive. Sounds utopian. But instead of us saying, don't touch the land, don't do this, red tape, don't do anything basically, which feels like the current message. I just feel like there's a better future there if we were to adapt something that's similar. What do you think?
I think we should call this closing section Scotty for PM. I'm voting. I like it. No, but in all seriousness, it's like, yeah, it might sound utopian, but it's the kind of thing that we haven't had the leadership in our country to actually explore or to put a stake in the ground on it. And yes, there's going to be a lot of people that say, we've got all this land, we want to protect it, we don't want to just build data centers, but there needs to be a balance. Yes, there are beautiful parts of Australia. My parents have just got back from a trip in the Northern Territory and have seen the photos. It is amazing, incredible, the wildlife and the natural beauty that we have. But there is also just a whole lot of red dirt out there that is nothing for if you've ever driven from Adelaide over to Perth across the Nullarbor, there's a whole lot of nothing there that could be utilized. So it's not saying that we want to absolutely pillage all of our natural lands, but I 100% agree that we can better utilize it. We're lucky to have it, and we're a little bit lazy that we haven't acted on it. Let's create this abundance. Let's create this utopia. So I'll be voting for you, Scotty.
Well, it's just, it is that. I mean, 90 something % of our country, we don't use at all. And I agree with you. I'm not saying put an oil rig in Byron Bay. But there is so much underutilized land here, and there is so much closed thinking, and our natural reaction in this country is don't do it. The one thing we do is say, let's bring in another 1 million people, and you can have any thoughts on immigration you want. But if we said, hey, we don't just, and a lot of the reason we bring in so many people is because we go, well, we just have a services economy, so we have to keep pumping it up to generate demand. And we don't really export anything apart from some natural resources, and we don't seem to be getting the benefit of that. But the thing is here, most people maybe wouldn't be so locked in on politics and on these fringe issues if they had abundance in their life, if they had affordable housing, if they had free childcare and healthcare, and they felt like they were in an environment where they could thrive. And I think when you don't have those things, you start grabbing onto all these stupid issues, or these stupid like lo-fi political issues where you get outraged about something that has no effect on you. So anyway, I just think we could relook at Australia now, and be inspired by some of the deals that are happening globally, and just know that, hey, wait a second, we've got all the resources, and we've only got 20 million people we have to feed. You might have some resources, but you've got 1 billion people you need to feed. So, anyway, yeah, that's just my thought about how we could maybe start rethinking about abundance in this country and working together. And I don't think that's a left or right political issue. I think abundance is not, neither, conservative or the other one. Lefties.
Yeah, we've been banned from saying that. But look, I agree. And I think your point around we typically just say no to things, it is something that I've noticed in the difference between Americans and Australia. We've got a little bit of tall poppy syndrome here. We like to cut each other down. We're not very ambitious on things. We don't want to be seen as being out there and having big goals. And I think we just need to get rid of that. And that is all part of this. So be a little bit more ambitious, a bit more optimistic. Let's go for that utopia with abundance.
Yeah, and then maybe it'll stop it. And also the other one I had just for us was the if we can just Switzerland this America-China thing and export and import to them both. This is another way of us being a key player with both. There's no reason why the Chinese can't have data centers here and have some energy generation and access our resources, and there's no reason the US can't. And maybe we could be, the centerpiece that stops, some sort of global war kicking off, where you say, hold on, everyone can have a little bit of Australia. Come in, we're open for business. We've got everything you need. We're friends with both of you. So anyway, I might be getting a bit too out of my depth here, but nothing wrong with a bit of positive thinking.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure we can thread that needle and play global peacekeeper while winning out the back. Sounds good, Scotty. Thanks for today. I think it's a good one.
No, thank you, mate. And good luck tonight with the baby's alarm. Maybe turn it off.
Get rid of that thing.
Thanks, mate.
See you, Scotty. Bye.